Since completing his degree at the Royal Academy of Music in 2016, Louis Dowdeswell has been among the top of trumpet players in the world. Having performed with artists like El Giro, Michael Bublé and many more, Louis has been maintaining this high standard ever since. In 2018, the Vincent Bach Company will celebrate their centennial in a concert in the Netherlands where Louis will be their special guest. This gave us the unique opportunity to sit down and have a chat with Louis. Louis, at what age did you start getting interested in the trumpet?
Well, I started the trumpet when I was about 8 or 9, something like that. And my mum picked one up from the local music shop, and we rented one for a little bit. And I remember when she bought me my first one, it was for one of my birthdays. It was a Bach TR-300. It's my first horn, and it was great. I had the Abracadabra brass book or something, and I just played through that. And at the time, my mum ran a big band from maybe 1997 or 1998, and she's a musician and a teacher. So it was just kind of everyone in the family played, and I was already playing drums at the time and piano a little bit. And the trumpet was just something I enjoyed doing, as a kid, and just my mum couldn't get it out of my hands, to be honest with you, So it was fun. It's good.
And then you got older, and on a certain moment you started studying trumpet at the conservatory.
Yeah.
And you also came to the National Youth Jazz Orchestra.
Yeah.
That was from 2012 until 2014, I've read.
Yeah.
Was that a learning curve for you?
When I was at school, I was you'd call it very privileged music schools. I had a very privileged musical upbringing at the schools. The first one was Wells Cathedral School in Somerset. I went there when I was 10 for boarding, and I left there for sixth form. And then at sixth form, at age 16, I moved to Purcell School in Watford, which is another music school. And in that time, I started going to the National Youth Jazz Orchestra maybe when I was 14 or 15, travelling up on Saturdays and missing Saturday school at Wells. And that was a good maybe 4-hour trip. So it was 4 hours there, do the rehearsal, 4 hours home every Saturday, just because the band was so great, especially at that time. They had 2 bands there, the National Youth Jazz Orchestra 2, Nigel 2, and then the main band. And so I would go up and play with the second band, and every so often the guy that was running the band at the time and the person that founded it, his name is Bill Ashton, he would, if they were running short of players in the main band, he would come through and check people and pull them, from Nigel 2 up to Nigel 1, and you get a chance to play with all the main guys. And the way the room was shaped in the rehearsals, you'd had the trumpets here, the trombones here, the saxophones here, and then the rhythm here, and it was like a amphitheater kind of theater, and people will be able to sit behind each section and take it in turns to just go in and mingle. And sometimes you would turn up, there'd only be 2 trumpets. Sometimes you turn up, there'd be 20, and it was just take it in turns. And it was quite kind of, if you will, a kind of testosterone fest trumpet, or musician thing, competitive attitude towards it. But that, you either thrive in that or you don't. And most people that came out of that band as really great players generally, took that away from it. And it was a really amazing experience. Yeah. So I guess I would have joined the band officially maybe in 2010, 2011. But I took over as lead trumpet in 2012, and we did some really cool concerts then. At one of the BBC proms, we had like a late prom. It's like a 45-50 minute set, and it was amazing to be able to play such difficult music. Amazing to play such difficult music with such great players, And also, just as a side note, I mean, the arranger who arranges all the music for my YouTube channel, his name's Callum Ow. He was in the band. And, I mean, basically everyone in my band came through Nigel. There's a special mention for Bill Ashton in my in my album liner notes that's coming out, thanking him, for helping. I wouldn't have been able to get the band together if it wasn't for Nigel, and also all the people that are in the band at some point, whether it was this year, last year, or 30 years ago, as the band's now been going 50 years, have all been through that band, and we wouldn't have all got to know each other without that. So it's pretty cool. But Callum, he used to arrange and play trombone in the band, and he would arrange a tune every week for that band, and they used to pay him a little bit of money every arrangement. So every week he would bring a new chart to the band, and everything we played in the band was written by people in the band. So it was always kind of difficult because we were all kids and so he would bring a new arrangement, and every week, Bill Ashton would look at it and, we play it and he'd go, I like that, we'll do it on the next gig. Or he'd say, I don't like that, and he'd chuck it in the bin. And every week Callum would just bring a new one. And so he got so quick at writing and so efficient, and he knew how to get what he wanted out of it. And, that was also another great experience for him, and it's ended up meaning that he can churn out music at such a rate and at such high quality that, it makes it, he's very employable for that reason as well. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. Yeah.
You've got a YouTube channel, which is very popular amongst the big band enthusiastic. How come you use this new, relatively new media thing to promote the big band?
So, like lots of people that, I don't know, I didn't find myself planning any of this, really. When I was about 14 or 15 years old, I started the channel in 2009, 2010. And YouTube, even though it was maybe 7 or 8 years old, even by that point, maybe not that old actually, maybe 5 years old, it hadn't really taken off in the same way that it is now. And we're actually coming up to 10 years old that I've actually had an account with the channel. And it must have been 2010, 2011 when I started actually filming myself. And I remember I was just in my bedroom once playing like I would any time, and I recorded a video of me playing "Oh Holy Night," Wayne Bergeron's version that Tom Cubis arranged, just along with him, and just worked it out in my head and played along. And I think that must have been the first double high D I'd ever played, and it was lucky I got it on video. And I put it on Facebook or something, and someone said, "I'll put it on YouTube," I was like, okay, fine, no one had ever seen any of, been on my channel. There was no reason to. And I guess I then did like a video every day for a couple of weeks. So I had maybe 10, 15 videos or something like that. And suddenly, slowly the trumpet community started getting onto this, and on forums they would, link this, and over time I built up a small following of maybe 2,000 subscribers, something like that, something around this. All of, I guess, hardcore trumpet fans, high note guys who just saw some young guy coming up, through the ranks. And then it really took off when, in 2015, I was with Callum just on a gig, and I think we wrote this in the liner notes for the album again. I think I'd seen a video of French horn player playing "Let It Go" from Frozen, and he did some, he got loads of views, and we thought we can do something like that, not even really particularly liking the tune necessarily at the time. I probably like it more now, but we decided we'd just do this, and we thought, well, we'll put a really good big band together and just record this in my front room in my house, and it took like 6 months. Took ages. I mean, Callum wrote the chart really quickly, as he always does. It was there. I think he wrote it in January, and we released it in June, so almost 6 months, maybe, 6 months, I guess. And then from there, we were only going to do one video, and then that took off. So maybe at this point, I had 10,000 subscribers just from that video. And then we then did Go the Distance, second video, and with the same group of guys, basically. And then we said, you know what, we're going to try and do a video every month. We only managed 4 months because it's just so intensive, and we have to work around it. And I think people want more content, but I'm not going to sacrifice quantity. Sorry, not going to sacrifice quality for quantity. So we've got 11 videos out now, and I think that's a pretty good achievement. I mean, we're going to keep going, but yeah.
Yeah, I've heard whisper that your upcoming new CD contains all that music. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's as much as we'd love to have done something, done some more for some things, it just felt right. We'd done 11 tunes, including one Christmas tune. Didn't seem right to put that on the album. So we just thought we'd take the other 10 and just get it in physical form, even if it was just for me to hold it, and feel like, there we go, And I remixed everything, and I got it all remastered specifically for the album. And there won't be any YouTube compression on the audio like there is usually, so it'll sound better. And I wanted to have that so that I could hold this physical thing and see the box of, CDs. And, I know people don't really use CDs anymore, but I just wanted to have something to hold, So, yeah.
That's big band. Have you ever considered going into a classical career as a trumpet player?
Well, going back to when I was studying at school, I was studying as a classical trumpet player all the way through Wells Cathedral School. As I say, my mum ran a big band, and I knew about the Big Fat Band, Gordon Goodwin's band, back when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. And I always wanted to sound like Wayne Bergeron. And definitely at the time I was listening to loads of guys like Maynard Ferguson and Arturo Sandoval, and that kind of pulled me away from the classical thing. But the classical training was absolutely important, and I maintained the classical training right through, college, university. I had a couple of amazing trumpet teachers at college. Mark David specifically, he was the head of brass at the academy, and he was an amazing teacher. I mean, literally, you go to him and he would just fix any issue that you had. And I really like teachers like that. Hi, I have this problem. How do I fix it? Here's the answer. And you go and you're like, wow, okay, so now I can do that. But he was brilliant. And I have to maintain that ability, because as a commercial player, you need to be able to play anything that's put in front of you to an extent. I mean, I could go to Abbey Road or Air Studios in London in the big room and have no idea what I need to play. And you could be playing, like one we did recently, we had to do something for Disney, and it was Star Wars. So I had to be able to play Star Wars with two of London's principal trumpet players and blend in. And without that classical training, I just wouldn't have been able to do that. So I really enjoyed that, by the way. It was like, big, beautiful orchestra, and the percussion were there, which is sometimes rare, and they were playing with us. Sounded like being in the film. And it wasn't for the film. It was for a Disney, something for Disney, outside of that. But yeah, I mean, as I say, without that training, I might not have been able to do that. And I felt good afterwards, because, as I say, I love playing classical music, but it's just when you get the call, really. I probably wouldn't go for an orchestral job. There are just people that are better at that than me. And I like to play to my strengths. But in reality, I have to be able to do it and blend in with the other guys, so that when I turn the page over, there's something that maybe is more suitable to me. I then need to be able to take care of that as well. It's kind of a compromise, and the trumpet's difficult like that.
You've played with stars like Al Jarreau and Michael Bublé. What's it like being a trumpet player with such celebrities? And just simply, you get nervous when you play with these guys?
Well, the gig with Al Jarreau was one to remember. It was pretty amazing. We did his very famous album, Jarreau, on the 35th anniversary. 30th anniversary? 30th, I think. And it was an amazing gig. We basically tried to replicate the album as it was. And Al was awesome, he was a really, really cool guy, and he sounded great. It was, it's just one of those things. Bublé was also a really cool guy. You know, that was cool. We did like a TV show for the BBC in Manchester, and he was there, and the big band was set up quite funny. It was like trumpets at the front, then trombones and saxes, and then strings behind. So it was like kind of getting used to that sort of environment in a different room to him. But actually playing with those guys, they bring something else to the gig, which is really cool. You have to treat everything you do with the same level of respect. So in that, with regards to that, it's basically the same as anything else, I would say. But actually, what they bring to the gig is something special, and everyone moves up a level, I think. With regards to nerves, if I'm in my comfort zone, it's usually all right. But everyone has a comfort zone, and everyone has an uncomfy zone. And when you get out of the comfort zone, the last thing you want to do is doubt yourself. So when you're playing live on television, or when you're in a studio full of some of the world's best musicians, and you just can't screw up, that is basically the case. You can't, and you have to tell yourself that. Not saying that it always happens that you don't, but in reality, if you ever doubt, at least I think, if you ever doubt what you're about to play, it's game over, really. I mean, we had to do one little thing in the Bublé thing. I remember specifically, it's on television, and and Steve Sidwell, who was MDing it, he just goes, "Take that up," Okay, and you just have to do it. And it was up to these double high D flats, and it came off on the gig. It might not have, but I think if I doubted myself and I'd been nervous about that at the time, I mean, I was obviously nervous, but if you just don't go in head first, then you're already at a disadvantage. So I think you just need to have the utmost confidence, and that's the most important thing, really.
So basically, don't doubt, just go for it.
Just go for it, because people will have respect for you even if you miss it, if you go for it.
Yeah. You've done numerous musicals like Aladdin, Motown, Guys and Dolls, Wicked, and so forth. What's the attraction to play music from musicals?
Everyone goes through a funny phase of wanting to be a West End musician. Well, most people go through a phase of that. And I guess the attraction to it is having a job. We're very lucky in the West End to have so many pits to play in, but also so many pits with trumpets and multiple trumpet chairs. Aladdin has 3 chairs. Motown has 2. Guys and Dolls had 3. Wicked has 2. Some of the others have 1. Some have none. And that's a really good thing for a jobbing musician as your bread and butter. I could, any day of the week, go and sub or dep for someone in their show, because that's generally what I do, and it keeps you fresh. You have sometimes 10, 12 shows on the go, and you have to go in and remember them and not screw them up, because every show, you basically have to go in and be the person that you're subbing for. It doesn't matter how you play or how they play. You have to go in and basically sound exactly the same as them. That's your job for that. And that's quite a satisfying job to fulfill, if you're doing it. Now, as I say, if it's actually your show, that's different, because you're doing the same thing every day, and you have to find ways of keeping that fresh. Musicians are creative people, and most don't like to have to do the same thing every day, but you have to find a way of making that work. With regards to actually wanting to do that work and going through a phase of wanting to be a West End guy, I would say that, as I say, most people go through a phase of that. I certainly did. But what it ends up coming down to is it being your bread and butter, and you push yourself at different points in your life. So at one point you might be saying, well, sorry, I'll go back a minute. Like back in the day, the West End guys, there were tiers of work, and the guys that were doing all the TV things, like Tony Fisher at one point was doing every single TV show. And, I mean, quite right. I mean, the guy was a monster player. And actually, we still play with him. He still sounds absolutely brilliant, But he would do the TV stuff, and then this is what I've heard, underneath that there would be some of the session things, like the jingles, and then underneath that. And the West End guys, it wasn't the same as it is now. You know, everyone that is anyone now generally has a West End show, generally speaking. And it's because it's your bread and butter. It's your work every day, you know, and if you can get off, you can do something else. But nowadays, most people are aspiring to have that West End show, or that, you know, in America it would be the Broadway show. Again, just because it's a generally steady job, you know, and it keeps money in the bank. I mean, in reality, that's what it comes down to. But as a player, I actually really enjoy subbing or depping on these shows because it keeps you fresh. And the musical directors can be quite picky as well, which is a good and a bad thing. You know, sometimes you can go and do the best show in the world and they still don't like it. But you know, sometimes you think you haven't done a very good job and they think you've done great. So it's a juggling game, and it's.
So we're here at the music store Dalzenio in Sliedrecht in Holland, and you're in Holland, and you're born in England, I think. So what's your purpose to be here?
So I'm here promoting my album that's coming out on the 27th of May. Digital distribution on the 28th. As I say, we talked about it earlier. It's a selection of the tracks on my YouTube, remixed and remastered. It's called High Score, and we're going to play some of that music. It's the other reason I'm here, is to promote the concert, the Gala Bach Centennial Concert, 100 Years of Vincent Bach Trumpets, 1918 to 2018. We're doing a European concert in Holland on the 22nd of June. So they're the two dates. 27th of May is the album release, and the 22nd of June there's a big concert. Hopefully I'll see all of you there. And it's going to be an orchestra playing some of my music, some of other people's music, with a bunch of Bach concert endorsees, and there'll be lots of trumpet and lots of brass and all that stuff. So if you like that sort of thing, come along. But yeah, that's the main reason of this trip, the purpose of this trip. So yeah.
And now we come to the last question, Louis. It's a very obvious question, sometimes a question where people just laugh. But for the musicians among us, what kind of instruments you play?
Well, I play Bach trumpets. Specifically, that one. That isn't my one, but that is the model. It's a 50th anniversary of Elkhart Bach Stradivarius 37 in silver. So the 190 S37, to be precise. And that means that it's built basically to the old Mount Vernon spec before the company moved to Elkhart. So it has a two-piece valve block for the geeks out there, nickel top, brass bottom, a side seam on the bell rather than underneath, and a steel ring in the bead of the bell rather than a brass. And I like it a lot. I used to play a Bach 180 43G lightweight, which is a 43 bell with a gold brass bell with a lightweight all body and bell, standard lead pipe in gold plate. That's what I recorded the album on, and that's a beautiful trumpet as well. It's just I went to the factory in Elkhart this time in March, and they had like 50 trumpets there for me to try, and I tried all these things, and that one was particularly good. And that's what I'm playing now, so I can say that I really like it. I also play Wayne Bergeron's mouthpiece, which is a GR mouthpiece, GR Wayne Bergeron Studio, and I have his whole range of mouthpieces, you know, the classic, the Studio M, the Flugel Deep, the Flugel Depth trumpet mouthpiece. There are tons of them, and they're great because they all maintain the same rim size, and it's very cushioned rim, very rarely come off a gig bruised as a result. But, you know, we joke about it, you know, me and Wayne, it's like a commitment, because once you go to that mouthpiece, going anywhere else suddenly feels a bit more painful because it's so comfortable. But it's certainly a revolutionary mouthpiece in my opinion, because it was designed by someone who I think really knows a lot about, you know, the trumpet and more importantly, the commercial side of it, not just the high notes, but for everything. You know, he's done a really great job with GR designing that mouthpiece. So yeah, it's very cool.
Well, Louis, thank you very much for this interview, taking the time for it.
Thank you.
And we'll see each other on the 22nd of June in, I presume, Leiden. That's the place where we are for the Vincent Bach Centennial Gala concert.
That's right. We'll see you all there. Thanks very much.